Hi, my name's Lillian Richter, and I am the author and writer of Visitors Behind Our Stars. These are my true stories of what had happened to me when I was a little girl, and throughout my life, intermittently, I've been in contact with these beings of a different kind, many different beings. This is just one. The little gray, I would call them, real tiny, and then I met other ones that were tall beings and humanoid type and fuzzy kind of creatures I met. And so they've been with my life. Like I said, periodically. This one case happened when I was a little girl, 9 turning 10. And that's when I first saw the being come to my window. Why they came to my window is because I did something prior to that. I had did something with my mirror to the sky because my little sister 7 saw something in this over the tree, and she said there was a circle plane in the backyard. We lived down in California at the time, and we lived around mountains, and no homes were built at the time. And so we had seen, you know, just hills only where I lived. I came from a family of 7 brothers and sisters. My parents, my dad worked as a meat company, as a cutting the meat up. Well, during that time, my sister saw this circle plane, and they scared her, and that's why she couldn't get in the house, because I was sitting there waiting for her to come. We were going to be watching this movie, my brother told us. And so, you got to come in, come on, let's get inside the house. So I went in first, and then she was supposed to come after me, and she didn't. Then shortly after, I kept saying, where is she? And I thought she came in. And I told my brother and my other brother, Mark, where's Tisha? She didn't come inside the house. I went into the room and I said, Mom, Tisha's not in the house. I said, where is she? And he goes, I don't know, I didn't see her. So I went back and I opened the door. I didn't see her, and I was calling her name out. But in the book, she took that out. She just said only the second time I opened the door, and then she came in. But the first time I didn't see her, and I kept running. I ran back, and I was saying, where could she be? She's not outside. And all of a sudden, I came back and opened the door, and that's when she came in. And she was scared and startled, and she said, I saw something. And I go, what did you see? I saw this circle plane. I couldn't get in the house. What happened is that she was up against the door, and she was trying to get in. She was scared to see this circle plane, which was years later a spaceship. It had multicolors of lights around, and they were colorful, like blue, green, like a neon color of purple. And that's what she had said. So I thought she saw a plane. I said, they scared my little sister. So I went out like a big sister, and I'm going to call them up, and I'm going to tell them you scared my sister. Here I was only 10 years old. I just turned 10 at the time in August 1964. And so I went out there to go do this mirror against, I don't know what. The reason why I knew about this SOS code was when I watched this TV program that had military, and they were doing an SOS, and they were contacting somebody from another ship. So I said, well, I'm going to contact them like that, because I didn't know any better. So, and like I said, this happened in the early 60s, and we had a little black and white TV that had little antennas at the time, and that's what we had. Well, we couldn't afford anything fancy at the time with 7 brothers and sisters. Anyway, so I did that, and I summoned this being without knowing that I contacted them. And that's how this creature came to my window that same week, 3 days later. And he picking in the door, and I could hear, prior to that, I heard something in the roof of the house, and I looked and I said, what is that noise? And then I heard scratching in the wall, like somebody was scratching the wall, and I thought, oh, somebody's out there. And the window was open. It was a hot August night, as they say, 1964, around the 20th. And I could see the window. It was open, and you could see like a light breeze coming in. And I felt that whatever it was going to come over there, and I was going to try to get out of my bed because I was in the room. going to sleep because I was so excited because my mom was going to go shopping the next day for clothes. We were going to go to school in 2 weeks, so we were so happy. But I went to go to sleep early so I could start getting up early. And so we were going to go tomorrow after church. And we were going to get some clothes because we couldn't afford clothes at the time. So when my dad got paid, you know, each of us would get some outfits, an outfit to wear or shoes to wear. Like I said, we were 7 brothers and sisters and we couldn't afford anything. At the time, it was hard times in the 60s. So, well, we had my brothers and sisters, so well, we played a lot with them. And so this being, as he popped his head out, I was mortified because I see him picking his head, only half of his eye would show and he would blink and look at me. But his eye was like emerald blue green. It was a color that I couldn't even describe at the time. It was like a glass color. It was something that I have never seen, and then he would pop back out. And then I was trying to get out of bed to go get my mother and tell her, Mom, somebody's in the window scaring me. And here he pops in head again, and this time he came closer like this to look at me. Of course, I was horrified, and I put the blankets 3 times, and I was praying and pinching my hands and saying, get this, being the Lord. I was into my Bible studies every week, and that's when I thought it was a devil. What did I do to see this devil? What did I do? And I prayed and prayed, and I said, it's not for real, Lily. He's gone. And he was still there. He still looked at me. Anyway, so after that, that's how it started. And from then on, he also warned me of the Father that I went to go in church, and he told me, do not go to the Father. He will hurt you. And I said, I'm going to tell the Father and the nuns, you know, what I saw. And my father, too, my parents will believe me. He said, they will not believe you. But he was talking to me with his eyes. I was trying to figure out how this thing was talking to me because I kept saying, who are you? I was so scared with my blanket pointing my finger. Who are you? And he said, you contacted us. We know about you as you know about us. I didn't know anything. I thought you're the devil. As a child, that's what you think, being raised religiously. So I was praying to my Jesus and my Lord to please protect me. And he said, no, we will protect you. That's what he said. I was like, no, I don't think so, you know. And then I started saying all the verses to rebuke yourself in the name of Jesus Christ. And he said, no. I said, do you know who he is? He said, we know and have heard of him. He is not here. He is of another time. This is what this creature told me. And I was like stunned at what he said. And so that's how that happened. But not knowing that I was doing the mirror, I was doing a certain code and 1, 2, you know, and doing that, and I was repeating myself. And apparently they must have seen it, which I didn't know. They could see from my area to 2,000 feet from the sky, which I didn't know that. So that's how it came about. And then from there goes my history about my stories, and they came not only once but twice, and he did protect me from the priest because he put his hands on me and he was going to try to hurt me, and I didn't know that. I trusted this priest, and so I talk about that in my book. And then later on, he never touched me. He froze him. He froze the priest like this before he can even touch me because he had other ideas. I was a little girl. I didn't know that because he asked me to come and pray with him in their I don't know what it's called, their office where they go, a building. The nuns go in a separate building, and they go, the rectory, I believe it is, that they sleep in there. And I went in there and I saw that there were doors, a corridor down that walks down the hallway. I could see the doors. I'd never been in there, and he took me to way in the back. Well, I didn't know his intentions were bad. I find out years later something did happen, not to me, to other kids, but that's another story. And so they have been here, and I believe they are my guardian cosmic angels. They have protected me many times and have done things. But in the book, I talk about other beings that I met. They look human, but their eyes are different. Their eyes are not anybody that I've seen. Their eyes from like the woman in the book, I talk about 13 chapters. I talk about this one woman. She was there to protect my daughter, and she had this like this veil on, and I didn't know that. And I thought she was there to hurt my daughter, because my daughter used to tell me she would see this woman. And I told the manager at the time, and that's her. She had this kind of belt that when I chased her, I was only 4 feet away. 4 feet away from her, and I almost grabbed her, but it felt like my hand went right through her. So I thought, is she a ghost? She turned the corner, and she put the veil on as she turned the corner, and she disappeared. And I could hear her steps. I could hear her steps walking down the stairs, but I couldn't see her at all. But then I yelled at, I know who you are. You stay away from my daughter, because I didn't really know, but I knew something was up with that. And I didn't find out till after she was there to protect me, my daughter and me. I didn't know that because there was some person in there, that man. I talk about that in the story. And then I also met this tall being. I met him up here in the mountains. And I'm going to say it's Arrowhead Mountain where I saw him. I don't say it in the book, but it was up in the mountains near Big Bear, Arrowhead, up in that area. And that's the back of my book. But that picture is a real picture of me back in 1995, 1996, 95, yeah, around that time. And that's the real picture of me back then, you know. So I saw this being, but he didn't really look like that. He looked more like thinner and muscular, like in the movie Knowing was the best way I could describe. They were thin and muscular when they came out. And not here to advertise the movie or nothing, but that was the best description that I could think of. And they were like guardian angels protecting the children. So we are all children here. I met the salesman. This is another story. He knew everything about my daughter. When he was supposed to come 3 weeks after I signed up, he came the next day. And they said, that's impossible, that wasn't him. His card said it was from someone, a man that did the books. These were the phonic books, and they're supposed to come to your home, and they make an appointment for you, and the school is notifying you. Well, it just happened from one day to the next, but he knew everything about my daughter. He knew about me and that you did sign up, and I have a list of people here, and he showed me the names, which I recognized 2 of the little girls. And my daughter's little school friends were there, and I recognized the 2, and I said, but you weren't supposed to be here till 3 weeks. I said, but I can come another time. I said, well, no, it's okay. But I was trying to call. When he gave me his card, I was trying to call the school. Nobody was there on a Saturday. My daughter went to a parochial school, and there was nobody there in the office. So that was another thing. And I talk about all these other stories. I've seen the spaceship. I've seen many spaceships. To this day, I've seen many spaceships. I have only a little bit videos of the spaceships that I took, and I have this description of one. It was one of the big ships that were humongous. It was like 3 Apache helicopters, like maybe 10 together. Like, it was massive and huge. So I told my illustrator, Cicely Williams, to please draw what I'm showing her, but it was so difficult. But it looked kind of, that I could tell you, wings on the side, and it looked kind of like a Star Trek, if you can imagine the front, but it wasn't. You put another double bar in the front, and it came with the bar in the middle, and then it came around, and in that round, you could see people in there. I saw people. And then in the back, then it came a little round, and on the side, the back had like a, kind of like a wing, and it came round like that. But it was so difficult, I know, to some people when I was trying to describe what I saw, and it became very hard to tell her what I drew. I mean, what I was thinking and trying to show her. So it was hard about that. So she did a great job no matter what. She did a good job. Now, I talk about the spaceship, which I didn't know was a spaceship. It was a triangular type of ship that I thought was a stealth bomber, because that's what they were telling me. Years later, I thought it was a stealth bomber, but it wasn't. Stealth bombers cannot stop over your car, go real gliding, real soft, and disappear like that. Without no noise, no nothing, but the white light that I saw, and I saw in this picture, it prevented me from getting in an automobile accident. This craft, it stopped me, pulled me over to the side. That's the picture I saw. And I saw this in 2001, not knowing what a stealth looks like. So they thought maybe it was a stealth, but it was black, like a pyramid shape. And it had a strobing light on the bottom and a strobing light on the top. And it was going back and forth like this, and it was about 10 feet off the ground. And I saw it like from here to where, I'd say where that last bush is, back there, if you could see it, way over there. And when he pulled me to the side, because I go into my story how that happened, he pulled me to the side and protected me, but kept me there. And the reason why I say I'm protected, because he stopped me from being in an automobile accident that involved 5 cars. Because as soon as I was released from 30 minutes sitting there, he let me go. And finally I could go. My car started up and everything. But I talk in detail how I was horrified, because the ringing lights were ringing in my car, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden this happened on the Mojave Desert. And I'm going to tell you, it was Southern California again, but it was on the 40, Mojave 15. It happened around there. Little that I know, but further down, there's an Air Force base called Edwards Air Force Base that I found out years later. I didn't know that. But way before that, that's where this spaceship, I guess, called me, or this triangular. I call it the Black Knight because I heard somebody call it the Black Knight. It's like a starship or something from, I don't know where that came from, but it came in time to protect me. And had I been there 30 minutes, I would have been in that automobile accident, because that was the highway that I took home from the desert to come back home. So there's many stories in here about me, and to this day, I still see the ships. I have some videos of some ships, and my husband has seen the spaceship too. He saw the Black Knight. We call it the Black Knight, yeah. And he saw that too. And he's seen other ships as well. I have seen so many things that I've seen these white beings that came to my room. I've seen, as they say, men in black. They were aliens. They came to my door, and they walked upstairs, and I was upstairs in my room sleeping with my dog, and she started growling, and I could hear them stepping up. That was one incident, and they came through, and I thought, oh my Lord, are they here to hurt me? And then I felt a nice presence that they weren't here, because I didn't know I had summoned them. Again, I did something to do that. And I don't talk about that in the book, because there's so many stories after 2001. This stops from 2001, goes back to the history of 1964. And that's how I came across these extraterrestrial beings, many of them. And they still come in my life. And they're, to me, my cosmic guardian angels is the best way I could describe them, because they were incredible. They can do things like magic, which they once came when my husband and I were sleeping here in Arizona, and they were I heard somebody trying to break the gate. We have a high gate, and it's locked, and trying to break it. Again, it was around the summertime, and this was a year ago, last year, and I told my husband, I hear somebody trying to break in the house, you know. So he goes, okay, the lights went on in the back, and we didn't see anything. Long story short, the next morning, my gate, all the sliding sticks that go in a gate were all bent like this, bent back. I'm thinking some kids try to break into my home or our home, and they did that to my gate. They bent. How can wood bend and curl like this? It literally curled, and one of them stuck out. I took a picture of one piece, but I didn't think to take the picture of that gate, because prior to that, in the night, I opened the window to see, and I saw this bright, shiny light, and it wasn't the moon. It was a glittery light, and I didn't think to go and just take the picture. I've done that so many times. So they came across in 2017. I was crying to them because I said, what did I do? My dog died. I was devastated with my dog because we had scorpions here in Arizona, and I live here in Arizona. And what happened is that I didn't know that scorpions were here years ago. And now, of course, I know now, but back then I didn't know. It's known, Sedona, and here they have they have little critters, scorpions, and they sting you. And I put the spray, and I had the gentleman come from the pest control guy to spray in the back, and I told him to spray in the inside. Well, I got so sick, and my dog got sick. And of course, my dog was already weak, and she passed away. And I was so devastated. That guilt to this day stood with me. I just couldn't get it. I was crying and crying for 2 weeks. My poor neighbor had to come over and console me. I was so devastated. This happened in 2017. And then I was sad because I thought, what did I do? They're not going to come and see me anymore, because they would come around the summer to say, hi, here we are, the ship, and then they take off. Well, this time I was telling my neighbor, they always come around. I know I did something terrible. And then they came. In 2017, I have a witness. Again, we were leaving. I had my cell phone. I didn't take the picture. I mean, there's been times that I see the picture. I did take one and the camera broke. It did break my cell phone. And I do have a piece of that footage. I sent it to my brother, my son-in-law, my daughter's husband, and he saw it and she saw it, and they thought it was weird. It was like a piece of a wing of a spaceship that was in front of my balcony. And literally broad daylight, they came and showed themselves. The aliens that I saw here, I think it was them, and I'm almost positive it was them. And there was also some that came like angels. They looked like angels. They were light-haired, whiffy hair, and they showed me things in the future. But this being had showed me things later on in life that I need to leave, because I won't be able to be near my family, which is my daughter. My family in California lived there, but you know, my daughter and my grandkids were important to me. I want to be near my children, my grandkids. And so they told me, you have an opportunity to leave now. We want you to leave. So I retired in 2016, which I was not supposed to retire. I was supposed to go 2021. But they told me, if you do not leave, you will not get your home. Things are going to be happening and you won't be able to get your home. And it's true, because I left on my salary and I had it cut in half to leave in 25 years. But it was, I could live well with the half of my 60% instead of 70, 75 to 80 that people like to go. But I left a little early, 25 years. But I had benefits and everything, so I figured, well, I'll be okay. I have to go with what they said, and sure enough, it all happened. I got to have my home. My children, my grandkids were close to me, and I got to spend time with them. You know, I left California for that reason, to retire early, and that is very true. They have shown me pictures of fires, all the fires in 2007. They showed me those pictures. They showed me what was going to happen. But we will be clear, there's a story of kind of a weird story on that I didn't know who was on the other side of the phone, and it was them impersonating my brother, that they were going to bring this blimp or something. And at 11 o'clock, I was eating breakfast because I had surgery and I was in crutches and I couldn't walk. I was by myself. My daughter left. In 2007, my daughter left to go, at the time I wasn't married, and she left to go up to her family up in Morgan Hill. I had heard these fires, and they showed me the fires that were going to happen, and I was in shock that they did happen, because that's something that they showed me. And when they came one night, they came through my window and they shot 2 lights in my window, and they looked like parking lights. And then they went around me, and I thought, oh my gosh, what are you trying to tell me? And then I didn't see the ship at the time. And then they started to go in the corner again, a light, it came around me, and then they showed me the space and Earth, that they zoomed down to Earth, and they would show me United States, and then would zoom again and show me down California, and then they would zoom again and they would show me little dots of red lights like fires. And I thought, what are you trying to tell me? Fires. And then it disappeared. All along California, they showed me that. And I remember, it was October 2007. And then it came again, some more fires. And they were all over. People, if anybody remembers the California fires, that was terrible. But that day when I was home, I happened to be off work because I had surgery at the time. I had a phone call and I couldn't barely walk, and everybody was evacuating because I lived in an area where they were evacuating. I couldn't, I was in crutches. So I went in my crutches to knock at my neighbor, see if she was home. Nobody was home. Long story short, I sat down and I was thinking, how am I going to get out? And then I got a phone call. And somebody was on the line that personated my brother. My brother's in the military. It was not my brother. I don't know who it was. And so they said, hey, how you doing, sis? And acting silly. Hey, this is your brother. Whoa, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm kind of, I had surgery and stuff. And are you home right now? Yeah, I'm just here. He kind of didn't really answer me. He said, I'm here just doing some maneuvers and things. Oh, okay. Well, Lily, I want you to watch on TV. They call me Lily. I want you to watch on TV channel 7, 2, 4, and 9. Remember that at 1 o'clock, I believe it was, or 12 o'clock, I don't remember. But it was around 12 to go look on the TV, because you're going to see our planes, our big aeroplane that's going to drop water and burn those fires out, sis, so you don't worry about it. Because how did they know? I was worried. Because I told him, well, I'm kind of worried. Maybe I said that. I don't remember, but I had surgery. And so he said, we're going to burn them out. And I said, okay. So around that time, I came out of the restaurant. I was coming. And I said, oh, I got to turn on the TV. And I channel 4. And all of a sudden, you see this big old plane, huge. And it comes over to our area. One big splash, burned like a whole row of homes, saved those homes. And that was up the hill where I lived. That was in Santa Clarita, and it is documented that they came over Stevenson Ranch, out that area, because that's where I was living at the time, and they burned it out. And I dropped my pass. And so I thought, how did he know? We're going to fly over and burn them out, sis. Don't worry about it. Okay, great. I told my mom, guess what Rick's called, and that's, in the book I don't use their real names, but my brother, I told him, Richard. I said, they call him, we call him Rick. And so she said, he's home? I said, I don't know. And I called his fiance. I said, Rick's coming home, or is he home right now? And she says, not that I know of, unless he comes. That may be surprising. My mom had no idea, because she would have known. I said, but Mom, Rick called and told me about those fires that were going to be burned out, because I was here by myself and on crutches and I couldn't go anywhere. So she says, well, maybe he's going to surprise me. Okay, it wasn't my brother, because my brother came during Christmas time. He had to leave to go, and he said, that wasn't me on the phone, Lily. I don't know who you spoke to. It was them trying to tell me, and I guess they can impersonate voices. I don't know, but they did it to call me because I was worried. I said, well, I'm just kind of, and I remember seeing now, I was kind of worried, about the fire. Don't worry, we're going to burn them out, and sure enough, they did. Of course, it cost the city, what, $2 million out of our taxes? But they saved those homes and they saved lives, and that's important. You can't put a price on lives. I did have a missing memory, and I talk about that in the book. And the missing memory is when I was scared to be alone, and my little sister who saw the spaceship, the plane, and my little brother at the time was there. I said, don't let me fall asleep, because I'm afraid to be here, in case he comes around the window. Because I was still kind of startled from that, and then I went, to church and try to talk, and then I hear this voice say, do not tell them nothing. Do not tell them nothing. And the nun was saying, but you prayed and you did this. And I said, yeah, but he was still there. Sister. I don't use their real names, but it was a sister in my Bible studies. And it was after that time when the priest would come in and we'd all rise and say, good morning, sir, you know, priest, Father, let's say Father Christopher is the word that I use. It's not a fictional name, but I know his real name. And, you know, he kind of singled me out. That's when he told me, you know, we need to talk to her, pray. I'm going to teach her how to pray. She might have told him something. I don't know. But I always talked about that someday I wanted to be like them. It's in how do you become a nun? And you're little, like in the 4th, you know, 5th grade. And how do you become a nun like that? You know, I'm just curious to ask it because I was a child at the time, you know, and it was something that we were raised that they're kind and loving. But no, some of them were not kind and loving. They were mean. So that's to that story. Before I forget, when you told me about the memory, that night when I told my sister I didn't want to be alone and my brother, I just went like this and turned my head to get the pillow and I woke up, it was day. So from turning like this, and I said, and don't leave me alone, and they were gone and it was daylight. So something happened. She said, you just knocked out. I don't remember anything else. And then I woke up and I told my mom, Mom, I went to sleep, but I didn't go to sleep. I was like, Mom, I woke up, I didn't sleep. How do you explain that? That's the only thing that happened that I could say was, I don't remember, just talking to them, and that was it. Back then, if I was to say something, my mom told me, because what they used to do back in the 40s and 50s, it is known that they would lock you up if you say something weird or they think something's wrong with you. They'd lock you up in a mental ward or something. My mom said they're going to take you away and lock you up, so I never said anything except in elementary school. We went to elementary school at the time and we went to Bible studies twice a week, and of course church Sunday services. But because my mom told me you can't speak of that, if you do, they're going to take you away and they're going to lock you up. So I was mortified to hear that. I thought, oh, I won't see my brothers and sisters. And I say that in the book and I go a little more in detail, but that's what happened. And yes, they were not supportive at the time. There was questions about something happened in my leg and she didn't believe me. And I talk about that in my book because there was something in my leg that a glass fell out, and I screaming and told my mom the glass fell out of my leg, and there was this black bug that pulled it out of my leg, and it was like, where did that come from? It looked like I was running up in the hills or something. I don't know where that happened. I have a leg that has a scar where that glass came out of me and it turned into water. I don't know anything about that, but I find out years later that sometimes they can disappear or something, but that came out of my leg, a little, it looked like a little horseshoe. And it was glass, and I was screaming for my mother, and I was trying to find it, and there was water. And then I somehow went like this with my hands, and then I picked it up. It just turned right. It was weird. It was just, anyway, so then that's what happened. And then I pressed my leg because I had this pus coming out, and then I thought it was a blackhead. And I pull it out, and it was a big black bee that big. And my mother never believed me that that came out of my leg. How that came out of my leg, I don't understand. And then I have another thing in my book that I talk about surgery. They went on the side here, and I have that scar, but I don't want to show that scar. It's kind of down here. It's the technology that they have today. I didn't know anything about that. But this one girl told me about her surgery, how they went. She had a heart problem, and they went on the side here, and they cut an incision, and they put the tube up here. Well, in my book, I talk about what they did. But they had a tube in my mouth and they were working down there, but I couldn't see what they were doing. I find out that they were working on my heart because according to this beings in my book, they were like humanoid. One, I remember they had big heads, but I was on a gurney apparently, and they were operating on me. And I remember that I looked to the left and I saw like these glass shelves with something in them. And then the one man was saying, she's waking up. And I started to look around. She's waking up. It's okay. She won't remember anything. the man that I saw looked like that humanoid in here. He had big blue eyes, and he was the only one that was taller than the rest of them. And he had like some kind of uniform and operating. And he said, she won't remember, take this out. And he was taking a tube somewhere in my throat and here, down in my lower abdomen. I have that scar, and what I found out from one of my coworkers, because I did work for LA County Sheriff's Department, and 2011, she told me that they operated on her side to fix her murmur in her heart. What I didn't know, I had a murmur too, and they fixed that for me. And I have that scar. I went through 2 nurses that showed that's what they used to make the incision like this. They look like rotary kind of. They said that goes back in the 40s, that the sewing when they stitch somebody. But that's what I have, what they're doing now. But that happened when I was a little girl. I have seen orbs, many orbs. In fact, I took a picture with my daughter holding the dog, and the orb's there. I took that picture. Somehow I'm missing the other picture, but there was an orb right there. And another picture of me that I don't know why, I thought it was bad film. It was an orb right above my head. I thought it was a bad film. Back in 2005, this was right after my accident. That's another story. I had a head-on collision which totaled my car, but nothing happened to me. When this car struck my vehicle on a highway on the freeway coming home, they appeared again, and they put this vibration shield to protect me. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I just remember seeing like flashes of light, and it was just weird. I remember when I was around this time, I would say maybe, yeah, around that time, I was taken aboard a ship. I didn't know it was a ship. I got up and I was sitting somehow in the back, and there was another little girl up there, and there was this woman, like, or somebody, you could see the drape and you could see glass, and I was inside a ship. And I said, where are we at? She goes, we're up flying. Where would you like to go? In a very nice voice, I want to see Big Ben. I hear about Big Ben in London. Okay, 2 seconds, we were like there. And I could see the men standing, which I've never been to London. I've never seen anything like that, but they showed me. And then when I realized we were on top looking, I realized where I was. I was scared. I wasn't in my bed, and she went like this to me. Somehow she went like this, and I was back in my bed. So I felt like I was taken aboard during this time of when I was a little girl. That was the incident that I remember being in the ship, other than the ship that they might have taken me aboard when they were operating me, because they had to take me somewhere. I wasn't here on Earth, that's for sure. I don't know their description. I just believe what, according to this being told me, and the reason why I named the visitor, because they were here passing by to get some kind of animal, I guess. I guess they were here to pick up animals. That's the impression I got, because I talk about that in the book. There was a dead cat after this being, and the head was severed, and you could see the skull and everything. So they were here to pick up a couple of animals back in the 60s. Now, I find out years later that that's true. I didn't know that. Has to do something with allowing from our government that you can go ahead and do this. But I guess they just came curious to see me because I did something. I don't know. That was, and I write that in the book too. I don't feel that I was chosen. I just feel that I did something at that time, and they have been in contact with me because I did a code. They know that I did something of a code to contact them down. But I knew there was something. When my sister saw a plane, I thought really it was a blimp, or what do you, because that's the way that my brother said it was a blimp, or I thought it was a balloon. So that's the only thing I could think of. That I said, my little sister's talking about that, and they came too low and they scared her and they took off. And that's because I was at that place where I'm going to contact them I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was people in a plane that scared my sister. I never would think it was anything like this or a spaceship. At that time, I didn't have the knowledge to even think of things like that. We had a little black and white TV. We were strict upbringing. We were in religion. I just didn't think of those things like that because I wasn't exposed to it. I didn't know the vocabulary at the time what this creature told me. There's no way I would know that at that age, 9 and 10. No way. And they would show me some things like, I would also see like, they said they come through the holes in our atmosphere. Somehow they come through. And they can come through a time warp or something, they can come through. Because according to the creature, and I don't like to say creature, this beautiful being, because he was loving and kind, that protected me. He came not in this time, not in our plane, not in this time, not in, you know, from your time. It is from another time, not in this time. We come from behind the stars, not your stars. That's what it said. I can't say that as a child. And the way it was communicating with me with its eyes, I could hear him talking with his eyes, and then he started going like this. And then I started saying, I could hear you. You can hear me. Then I started hearing him talk, but without, he had a little slit of a lip. I used to call it a cat monster because I didn't know what it was. And then I started thinking it was a little boy that got bit by a cat, and he was ugly. Nobody wanted to talk to him, you know, in my mind. And then I thought it was a little boy that he was ugly. Nobody wanted to talk to him, and I was being nice to talk to him. I mean, my mind at that age was only like thinking not of anything negative or anything that would hurt me. I just think, oh, and then he came through, and it was a real alien when he blinked. I was startled. Oh my Lordy, I was startled. I must be them in another time, not in this time. They came from afar to change something that was probably going to happen, and I probably would have never had grandchildren. And I believe they came in to protect me that way, and they did. I have beautiful children. I have a beautiful daughter. I don't think I would have lived this normal life, really. I think I was going to live a different life because of something that would have happened to me back then that would have changed my whole vision that was supposed to be happening today. And I live a very simple life, and I'm happy. They show love. You must love thy neighbor. You must love the people. Care for one another. Because it is true, it's not religion, it's love of spirituality. You must care and love people and care for yourself as you care for others. I believe they come here in peace, and I believe they want to share that with us. But because sometimes we're very hostile, you know, not me, but I know other people are very hostile, they want to shoot them down. They come where they feel peace, they come where they feel safe. That's what they will show themselves. So that's the only thing that I feel, that they're here to also protect Earth. I know that now because they showed me pictures. And they have done a lot of things to prevent things from happening. They showed me many things, but one thing that got to me was the water. Lots of water coming all over. I don't know if it is our people doing it by whatever manipulation of our weather, but I see it that they're doing a lot of things that are happening, and I saw what was going on. They showed me people, how they're going to react when they have no money and they lose it, and how they had to bring in military to protect businesses, to protect our gas stations. They showed me things like that. And it's kind of scary because it seems like it's like things to do with money. They showed me what I had in my hand, and it was silver. I had silver, and they told me, you're going to need this. I didn't understand it back then. In 2009, they showed me this stuff. But everything is starting to happen, and I'm seeing all this now. with the silver and gold. And they told me, you must have this. And they showed me, you must also take care of your body. You must feed your soul with love and kindness and energy. You must be kind to people. They try to hurt you, just walk away. Do not pay attention to them. And I don't say anything, I just walk away. What I saw, it looks like this is only a time period. They had said this is only going to be in time for a time, in your time, Lily, and it will pass. Do not fear, it will pass. That's what they told me. Whatever you see, do not fear. You will be protected. And a lot of you will be protected. Yes, I am telepathically connected with them somehow. They always respond to me. And whenever I call or I have a distress in my body, like I said, they come to me. But sometimes I'll sit there for a few days and I said, oh, they haven't come. And out of the blue, my husband sees them. He's seen the ship, and I missed it. It's things like that. It's like they're saying, just listen, Lily, listen more and be more communicative with people. I'm a little shy. I don't really talk to too many people, but I guess I'm here to tell my story and to say these beings do exist. They do not harm people as other beings do. They're good and there's bad, as they are good and bad humans here. The same thing with them. That's what I can see. I can perceive this. I also feel that they're also from our earth. In the water, I know this because they have shown me some things years later. They're inside our earth, the water below. They come from the bottom of somehow in the ground, and they have their ships way below, like caves. I guess we have caves in the bottom of the earth. They've shown me. I mean, that's what I perceive. This shirt is my creation that I wanted. John, who does the graphic printing, and I'm not here advertising, but he's a great guy, and I'm going to say he did a beautiful job. And so this is the picture of the alien with the light blue green eyes. And I told him I wanted to have it Sedona because it's beautiful here, and that they do come here. I know that. And so I had pictures put together, and I told him this is the way I want it, and I want the little ship at visiting, and the little road runner, and this is Visitors Behind My Stars, page 64, and that's from the page of my book. And I have the person who wrote it, Cecily Willis, the girl who designed the being in my book. So that's the book, and but she created what I wanted. So this was my creation. Well, I have my books, and I had it through Amazon Kindle. I used to have it through Amazon, but it was so hard because I have to give them the files now, and I'm kind of not too sure about giving them my files of my book. But anyways, they would sell it, the Kindle, and it's on there. It's also Barnes and Noble. They sell my book, but I have it also, and I have a P.O. box that you can contact me if you want to have my book sold. I have a website, Visitors Behind Our Stars, and it does show that. But I don't have my emails. I don't put my emails on. Because I used to have my emails before when I was California, and I would sometimes get people that want to ask so many questions. And it was hard for me to type because I was not good at typing. I mean, even though I was a secretary, it took a lot of work for me to be typing, and I would have rather have talked to them in person, but it was so hard. They lived in different cities, so in different states, so I don't have my email anymore. So I just sell it at book events, and I'm here at the UFO event here to expose my book because I'm not one to really go on a podium and talk. I'm a little bit shy, but yet I'm talking about this. So it's going to come out. I wish I had courage to even talk about this 40 years ago, but I was too shy and too afraid to talk about this book. Being ridiculed because of what people would have thought many years ago, even back in the 90s, A lot of them were okay, a lot of them were not. When I started talking, I didn't talk about it. Until now, I'm really talking about it in the last 10 years. I like to have like audio to talk about my story, and that's the project that I like to do. And I have to get someone to speak about my stories, because talk about my true events. And then I also have in the future more shirts, more designs from my book. I like to have more t-shirts to the UFO people who want to hear more about that, and I'd like to have that later on. I have bookmarkers created. I didn't bring one, but I have a bookmarker in the back that has them in part of the pictures. So I have that also. In my book, if you want to write, I have a P.O. box. It's my name, Lillian Richter, P.O. Box 74884, New River, Arizona, 85086. Just be kind to those who want to speak out about this. Don't ridicule them, because it comes from the heart. This comes from my heart. This is so true. I can't make up stories like this. I'm not good at that. But this is true, and I believe these beings, bless them for who they are, saved my life.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.